Welcome to Remade in California. I'm career coach Pat Pattison. This is a show about reinvention, inspiration, and transformation. Tools you can use if you're launching a new career or business or simply reinventing yourself. Our expert guests help us explore new ideas, educational programs, and job resources available to you right here in California. During this show, we're talking with 3 successful entrepreneurs about changing the course of their businesses. We'll speak with Amy Johnson, who went from working as a producer in theater, film, and business to launching her own holistic project management business. She is currently working on the Launchpad Leadership Program with California students. Also joining us today is Lisa Smith Putnam, also a former producer, who launched her own pet lifestyle magazine and hosts her own pet radio show. I have here with me now radio show host Katerina Cozias. Katerina, originally from Canada, found herself in California following a personal career change after working in finance. She is an advocate for second act careers for women over 40. Thank you for joining us, Katerina.
Well, thank you so much for being here, for having me here.
This is great. So you've lived all over the world.
I have, Pat. I was born and raised in Canada,
Okay.
but I ventured out into Europe, into Asia, back into the USA, and most recently into California to remake my career.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you were in finance?
Yes, so first career was finance.
Okay.
Although I was always a communication specialist, always wanting to talk, I somehow convinced myself that instead of pursuing my dream, which was being on television, being in front of the camera, that it would be safer.
Wait a minute, are you after my job?
Yeah, I want your job.
Okay. That
it would
get
be
that out of the way up
right,
front.
right. That it would be safer to do something a little more traditional, right?
Okay.
And so I went down the route of finance, thinking I'll do it for a year, and then maybe I'll go back and get a master's in journalism. And next thing I know, 10 years went by.
Wow.
So.
And I know, I remember your story. We talked. You've had this calling to be in television since when?
Since 15 years old. I was the girl who used to sit with the brush in front of the mirror and pretend I was, at the Oscars on the red carpet.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just shied away from that dream, Pat, because again, society had sort of convinced me that you can't dream too big.
Okay.
And so at 29 and a half, 10 years after finance, I quit my job and I thought, okay, now I'm going to go do it. And I left Canada, I went to Europe, I was going to start the new chapter.
Right.
And once I got to Europe, I started feeding myself the self-limiting beliefs.
And this was all finance and still?
This was finance related, but I wanted to shift into journalism at that point. But then I started thinking, and I'm sure a lot of your viewers may have gone through this themselves, like maybe it's too late, maybe I'm too old, who do I think I am, right? It's never too late.
Never too
exactly.
late. Yeah.
So I further delayed my own passion and did something, again, a little traditional, but a little bit more in alignment with me. And so I moved from hardcore finance into communications. I became the director of marketing and communications for a yacht luxury company. Yes,
wow. So that's what
which
got
was
you
great,
to
and that got me
Dubai
going all over
and
the
all
world,
these...
Dubai's and Hong Kong's and Monaco, and I had a terrible life.
Yeah. Well, but that's a good point. Is it would be. I mean, most people would be looking at you going, well, my gosh, what a success.
Perfect life, right? Why would you deviate out of that?
So you have a great phrase, you call it the terror barrier.
The terror barrier.
And I love that phrase.
So what happened was I was hitting the terror barrier. And what that is, Pat, is it's a place that we reach mentally within ourselves that our intellectual mind recognizes as, I don't know what's on the other side of that jump, so don't jump, because I can't rationalize what is waiting for you. And it really comes back to survival instincts. It's the same instinct that talks to you when you go to put your hand against a hot stove that says, danger, danger, danger. So your mind is saying, I don't know what's going to happen if you quit your job, if you move to that city, if you take that leap, so don't do it. Now, the thing is that we can't let the terror barrier hold us back. We need to break through it.
And you have some tips.
I do have some tips. So we've all heard about, and it's becoming a little more mainstream, which is visioning, right? We are the creators of our own reality. And I used to think a lot of that was woo-woo, but I'm becoming a big believer
particularly
in
California.
Well,
we're the home of
we're the woo-woo capital. But no, I do believe it's hitting the mainstream society a little bit more. The trick is to really see yourself where you intend to be. Now, a lot of people do this, and they still don't get there. Why? Because the rational mind says, I'm going to see myself in Pat's seat being a television host. But then what? So the trick is to see your vision and then see beyond it. This is where most people fail, is you need to see the vision and then expand even further from there. Right. Once you expand further from there, your subconscious says, okay, if I get to that seat, I know what comes next. Next comes Oprah Winfrey, right? Logically. Right. But the key is to envision where you want to be, even with finances. You get some people who say, you know, I want to make $100,000 next year. And then they start, you know, bumping between 90, 95, 97. They just can't break that 100,000. The goal is not to think of the 100K. The goal is to think of the 150.
So part of your barrier and part of your advocacy for women over 40 in second acts, there's another barrier, which is very much in the news right now, which is sexual harassment.
Yes.
And can you speak a little bit just about
absolutely.
How that factors into
one thing I love about being over 40 myself is my ability and the ability of my peer group to mentor younger women.
Right.
And I think we're really at a crossroads right now where with everything that's been happening in the news, this is nothing new, right? This was going on back in the Woody Allen days. This is, you know, back before then.
Daryl F. Zanuck in the 30s.
Right, right. You know, this is, you know, but society has now shifted because of women's ability to hold their handheld phone in their hand and have a voice. This wouldn't have been possible even 5 years ago because we still had the 5 major networks, the 5, you know, or 10 major media moguls who happen to be men, sort of having each other's back. Now that women really have a voice via the internet, via social media, I don't think this is going to close. This dam is not going to be quenched. Yeah. And I think it's a great wake-up call for everyone. And I think it's a real opportunity for us older women to mentor the younger women and have them recognize that your body is your body and your preferences are your preferences. And you don't need to say yes if you don't want to simply because someone is forcing it upon you.
Yeah. And certainly the consequences facing
well, we're seeing that, right? I mean, look at what's going on.
Yeah. People are just, So what are some, give us a little inspiration for women that might be turning 40. What should they be doing for themselves tomorrow?
Sure, and it's not even 40s, it's 50s, it's 60s, it's 70s. We really have changed as a society. And if 40 is the new 25 and 50 is the new 35. One of the things that that I like to help people, but especially women, remember is that the world is your oyster and that age really is just a number. It's a descriptor to identify how many years you've literally been on the planet. It has nothing to do with your potential, your ability, your creativity, and we need to move away from this ageism of you somehow lose your value as you age. So as a society, I think that's great because we have so much we're able to give back.
Right.
Yeah.
So very inspirational and very timely. Boy,
absolutely.
This is a good time to be talking about women empowering themselves and coming up with a new second act. So thank you, Katerina.
Absolutely.
And a great personal story. I love the terror barrier.
Yeah.
So to learn more about Katerina, visit her site at www.katerinacosias.com. Next, we'll be right back with Amy Johnson, theater and movie producer turned holistic project manager. Stay tuned.
Charter Our Community, along with our partners at Rebuilding Together, have helped more than 1,100 homeowners in the communities Charter serves, and we're helping more every day.
Everything is fantastic. I can't believe it.
At Charter, we're committed to improving the places people call home and ensuring that families live in safe and suitable housing.
It's just a big blessing for me. Couldn't do it by myself.
Visit charterourcommunity.com for helpful home safety tips or for information on how you can get involved.
Welcome back to Remade in California, where we talk about everything from the economy to education. Today's half-hour show, we're discussing launching a new career with 3 extraordinary entrepreneurs. I have with me now Amy Johnson, who went from working as a producer in theater, film, and business to launching her own holistic project management business. She currently is working on the Launchpad Leadership Program with California students. Amy, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Pat.
I appreciate the time. So explain to me 25 years as a producer of all sorts of things, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
I'm dying to find out what holistic project is, but tell me about some of your background.
I worked in film and theater producing everything from plays and improv to movies.
That's a
and
big job.
Yeah, and doing acquisitions in movies. So really it gave me a skill set to help facilitate taking an idea from concept to completion. So like the art of a story and following a script into the screen is something that I love to do and working with creatives. And I found that it would be applicable to people in their own businesses and their own lives. And
Makes
so I decided and created personal producers as a way to kind of help people take an idea from concept to completion.
So treating an individual idea like you would if I wanted to produce a film or a
Yes,
play.
exactly.
Because I know a producer is a person with many hats. I mean, you have to
Yes.
be able to be a psychologist and a financier,
Right.
and there's all sorts of things.
Yes, and the term produce actually goes back to the root of to bring forth. So I
Okay.
really look at as my job as a facilitator to help bring forth that. And
That's a great way to look
it's,
at it.
to bring forth ideas and change the way people think about things. And so my job is often helping people connect to themselves, connecting to their values, what they want, and then helping build a business that matches that.
And that's where the holistic
And that's where the
comes in.
holistic comes in.
Yeah.
I look at it as a whole, not just an individual part. So if you're doing project management, you're thinking about core values and company culture and what kind of, what your end result you want it to be. So you're not, like I said, building a company you don't really end up wanting to have.
Right.
And with infrastructure, it's so important to be creative and have a business. I know I work with a lot of people, an interior designer who is incredibly creative and has a thriving business, but needs more infrastructure in her life. So a producer often can do
Strengths and
both halves.
weaknesses.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's right brain, left brain, and
Yeah.
I'm able to balance and navigate that and help them develop their own skills to be able to do that ultimately, and give them the place to work that out.
Particularly creatives.
Particularly creative,
Yeah.
certainly,
Yeah.
it works here, and help them kind of find their way, kind of inside out,
Yeah.
and apply it that
And
way.
it's interesting because the guest we just had, Katerina, was talking about finding your passion. So in a way, you're helping them develop a true way of creating something that they want to live in.
Yes,
For
yes.
something that's sustainable to their own core values.
Absolutely.
What a-
So
what a great
yeah,
service.
it's passion with kind of real foundation under it. Because when you can connect that passion to what you believe in, and then have a clear roadmap of how to get there,
Right.
then it's really meaningful, and then you're building something you want. There are, so I've found that whether I'm working with an actor or helping them launch a business or working with moms who want to start a business together. So
What are the
it really-
biggest challenges you see with most of these? I'm assuming mostly creative people that you're working with, or is it all over the map?
It all really depends. I mean, I love
Is there
working
a common thing you see that people?
everyone thinks I think the common thing is they have their own insecurities around it.
Okay, perfect.
And
That
so
makes
it's
sense.
really helpful to kind of, what I like to do is help people find their own strengths, and whether that's through Gallup's characters or strengths assessment and finding what they are and then how to apply that
Right.
is a fun way to kind of really dial in on what makes someone unique and on how they operate, or just really getting to the root of what matters to them. Because when you can connect what matters, again, then everything else
flow
really
happens.
comes much more easily.
yeah.
And but it's making the time too. It takes time. This working holistically in any manner is not like a quick fix.
Right.
So it does take some time to build trust and be able to kind of really go deeper to be able to have that foundation to then which
And
explore.
you're giving them more of an objective view of what they need to do.
Yes.
things
Yeah,
that-
we roadmap. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
it's really practical. It
Yeah.
becomes a very natural path.
So tell me about your Launchpad leadership program. I'm fascinated by this.
It's a great program. It's basically, it engages middle school students
Okay.
in simulated business projects.
Wow.
And it's
What a
all
great
done through
idea.
the lens of their character strengths. So they get to take an assessment early on. So these middle school students, 6th through 8th graders, get to take an assessment online and find what are their top 5 strengths. And then they take this curriculum, and through that lens, which helps provide social emotional learning, which is building self-awareness and self-reflection and social awareness. And through that, then they can also experiment with different careers and what
Wow.
matches what I do and what does it
Why
mean
didn't
to be
they
a
have
CEO?
this when I was in
I
middle
know.
school? Holy cow.
Yeah, but
What a
what's
great
a
idea.
CEO or what's a product development person do? Or what does marketing do? How do I sell? How do I pitch to a VC? You know, these are life skills that they learn, and how to work with the team too.
And how do they progress through this? Are they exploring? I mean, I know it's offered as a summer camp, and or during the school year, and you have one here in Walnut.
Walnut School District.
Kind of
so 500 plus students have gone through it,
wow.
which is amazing in the last 2 years. And we're in talks with other schools everywhere from San Diego to LA to help bring it to communities and schools and students there.
And give me the route. It was designed by a UCLA student that started the program in China. Is that it?
Well, it's formed by 2 UCLA
Anderson
School of Business grads, right? And they are based in China and here. It's it's a California nonprofit, the one that's here.
Right.
But in China, they're also doing it there as well, and it's called Camp Sunflower there, and Young Global Leader program there. And what's really fun is Chinese students can come here and take the courses here, and also they bring U.S. credentialed teachers to China to teach, where they pay their accommodations and travel and give them a little bit of a salary to teach STEM and art and Launchpad leadership in China for students there.
So what a great thing, though, because middle school is such an awkward time. You have low self-esteem, at least I know I did. Low self-esteem, and to glom onto something that, I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm good with numbers, or I'm good creatively. That's but if you're fixing them in middle school, no more clients when they're older. What are you doing to yourself?
Right? I know. They're all going to be ready.
They're going to be fixed.
Yes. But I think with anything, what I find is I love taking businesses at different stages. So yes, there's the launch piece, but then there's also like, how do you sustain a business, as we were talking about earlier? Like, how do you go to the next level? When do you put in the infrastructure that's necessary to ground you and go far? And then what kind of business do you want to grow? You don't have to go as big as possible. Does it match the kind that you want? So I think sometimes we just go.
Right. And I know you have 2 daughters. Are they at the age that this would apply? Are they going to do this?
The younger one would. She's in 7th grade, so she would do it. I would love this for them.
You got to get it into the school.
Got to get it into the school so she can take it. Right. The financial literacy is such an important life skill, and business acumen, and being able to kind of problem solve, and the teamwork that they have to learn, and to do it through the lens of character strengths is amazing, because then they can both learn from, different viewpoints and different perspectives, which we all need in this world.
We joked.
And succeeded in business.
Yeah, well, you and I joked because I taught a program similar to this at the college level for the community college system that we promote on the show. And I always joke that I spent 16 weeks teaching artists the difference between gross profit and net profit. I mean, it literally was that. And to get them at that age to understand that what you earn isn't necessarily what you get to spend is
huge,
life lesson that I'm still learning.
They do. The kids get to fill out balance sheets. They fill out applications.
Fantastic.
I mean, they get to practice what does it mean to have a good application or a good resume, and they get to evaluate that, use discernment in how they want to present themselves. And also that great idea of like, this is my strength, but maybe that's also not appropriate here, and so the students individually get a chance to learn about it themselves.
We want to track progress on this. So
that would be great.
I
would love to.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sharing this Launchpad leadership, I'm very fascinated about this. So you can find more information about Amy at www.personalproducers.com. In just a moment, I'll be joined by Lisa Smith Putnam, producer who launched her own pet lifestyle magazine and pet radio show. And for more information on how California's community colleges can help you be remade in California, go to doingwhatmatters.cccco.edu. Stick with us.
Whoa, dude. You thinking what I'm thinking? Yo, I'm gonna cut the gap. Yeah. Dude, I'm gonna get it. I'm going in. Integrity. Pass it on. Save the date. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back to Remade in California. We're the show that explores people who are launching new careers and businesses or reinventing themselves. I'm career coach Pat Pattison, and today we've been discussing changing careers and launching entrepreneurial businesses. Joining me now is Lisa Smith Putnam, entrepreneur and animal advocate. Lisa, welcome.
Pat, hi. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's so great for you to come down, and you traveled to come here.
I
love
did.
That. Appreciate that.
I couldn't miss it.
Oregon?
Seattle.
Seattle, that's right, Seattle.
You know, Seattle lights, we have to own that.
My daughter went to school there, so.
Very nice.
I love your city. So your background fascinates me. Tell me a little bit about what you did first before we get into what you're doing now.
Well, I come out of the world of music and television.
Okay.
I know those better than anything else.
Great.
And for many, many years still have a little bit of a toe in the music industry.
Yep.
But for many years I worked in the music industry, either producing, executive producing,
Great.
Various artists.
Great. Drop a few names.
Oh gosh darn it! Tupac. A lot of people.
Okay, wow.
A lot of people
Okay.
affiliate me with Tupac.
Okay.
But in the production aspect, many years ago, Grumman Mastering, anyone who was somebody would come through Bernie Grumman's doors. Everywhere, music and the pop or the jazz or the rock, and a lot of different great artists.
So how did this evolve? I got to tell you, this magazine is gorgeous. I mean,
Thank
this is
you.
such a. I used to be in the magazine business a zillion years ago, and this is like coffee table quality.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah.
we worked really hard. I like to call a small but mighty team, and we worked so hard on putting this together because we wanted it to be something that you didn't just toss away. You'd want to have it on your table or send it to a friend and make sure that they would take a read
And it's
if they
kind
came
of
over.
referenceable. I mean, stuff I've gone through it, and some of these things are evergreen articles that you could. I mean, I can see
Absolutely.
these being collected, like, you know.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Well, I started the magazine because I've always had a love of animals. The joke is in my family, if the neighbor cat followed me home, I thought it was mine.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was always trying to, if I found a sick animal, I was always trying to nurse it back to health. So it was either be a veterinarian but then I thought, I love television and music too much. So when I started doing the pet radio show, I had several people call me and want to do a magazine.
Now, how did the radio show evolve? Let me back you up a little bit. How did that? Because it's not like you wake up in the morning and say,
hey, I should do a
pet
radio.
radio show.
Well, in college, I hosted a radio show. I mean,
Okay.
I hosted a jazz
So you had the
radio
skill
show. Yes.
of doing
And people said they
hosting.
liked the voice.
Yeah, you have a great voice.
So they
Yeah.
would, hey, Lisa, will you do some voiceovers? And I would do a lot of voiceovers. So between college and even after college, I would do some voiceover work. And then I had gotten really sick at some point in time.
Oh.
And I wasn't able to physically go and move around the way I would used to. And I would commute back and forth from Seattle. And I lived in Los Angeles, but when I moved to Seattle, it would require me to commute down to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to do it, but I still wanted to stay active as I recuperated.
Okay.
So a friend of mine said, hey, you should do a pet radio show.
Wow.
And I said, well, I love animals, but I never thought about doing a pet radio show. So they convinced me to do it. And I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I want to name it. And so I originally called it Your Pets, My Dogs. And they're like, that's an awful long name.
Right.
And I said, well, I want to be honest with people.
Right.
I'm going to talk about your pets, and then I'm going to talk about my pets. So your pets, my dogs.
We got to talk about your kids for so long, and then we're
And then we're
talking
gonna
about
talk about mine.
It's just like parents. Yeah.
But then when we started doing the magazine, we changed the name to Simply Pets Radio, and it kind of was a perfect marriage for the magazine.
Yeah.
And people were loving the radio show. We were getting a lot of great feedback because people really did want to talk about their animals. And we covered a wide range of topics. So we would like to call it, we'd educate as we entertained and entertained as we educated folks. And so they liked it. And then the magazine was born.
Just kind of evolved. And I know it's a website as well, because every magazine has to be a website these days.
Well, in this day and age, you have to
Yeah.
have that digital social media component. And
Right.
so originally people would go to the website and they're like, oh, I love your magazine. I'm like, well, it's also a print magazine. It's
Right.
and it's a whole different
'Cause
animal.
You're going contrary to the world. You realize that, right? It's
Well, yes.
Starting a print magazine and
This is what I hear,
late
Pat.
2010s.
But you know, those niche magazines, that really have a purpose
Yeah.
are really doing well.
Yeah.
And we are doing really well. It feels really comfortable. And so a lot of people, the best feedback that I have received from people is, Lisa, we love picking up your magazine because it is, and I hope they don't mind, it's like a National Geographic meets Reader's Digest.
right.
And so people love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've also written a book.
Well, in the
You're
magazine.
just like, you do it all.
Well, you know, and I have a chocolate company. And
Oh my gosh.
you
We don't
know,
have time. It's not
we've
too,
all
it's too
that
short
good
a
stuff
segment.
in the magazine. No, I'm sending you some chocolates.
So tell me about the book.
The book, in each magazine, we have a little feature called Lisa and the Pet Detectives.
Okay, I
So
saw
I
that,
have
yeah.
3 Labrador dogs.
Okay.
And it's about our wild adventures. And in the first year of the magazine, it was our great camping adventure.
Oh, how
So
fun.
we would go hiking and backpacking, and we would learn all these great stories along the way, such as, you know, safety and what do you do when you're swimming or if you get lost. And so we kind of put it together in a kid-friendly sort of version.
Dora the Explorer kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so our next
Yeah.
book is, you know, Lisa and the Pet Detectives and their dinner party. And so we
Right.
invite all the different animals over, and we're cooking and all of that.
Well, you can have product placement and put your chocolate company. I know you. I know what you. But this is.
You do know me.
I do know you. So this is a very viable niche right now. I mean, pets. I mean, the money Americans spend on their pets is huge.
Well,
and I notice you have a pretty substantial group of advertisers already.
Yeah,
in
you know,
there.
the pet industry is a $60 billion plus industry, and a lot of people are getting into it, Pat, just for the money. One of the things that we do, even with the advertisers and with the stories that we tell, we really want people that are in it for the love of the animal.
Sure, yeah.
When I was a little kid, my parents used to say, you know, do what it is that you love, and the money will come.
Yeah.
And so everything that I've done, from the music to the television to the magazine and some of the things beyond, these are all the things that I love.
Yeah. And you call that, I know you used the word spice, adding spice to your life.
Adding spice to the
So
life.
give our viewers some inspirational tips to add spice
Well,
to
the
their life.
best thing I can say to everyone out there is, again, when I was little, my parents used to say, do what it is that you love, and the money will,
So kind
will
of a
come.
follow your passion.
And so for me, when people are like, oh, you're reinventing yourself, well, I guess that's one way to look at it. But I just say it's more like adding a extra spice
I like
to your
that, yeah.
life. So if you're cooking, which I cannot cook,
Right.
but
Me
if I
neither,
were
so.
to, okay, but if I were to have a big
if we're
plate
going to
of
microwave our life.
yes. I like that idea. If we're going to microwave our life, you know, when it comes out of the microwave, you want to add a few spices. And what you want to do, I think, is find the spice that you really like, because that's the one that you're going to want to put a little bit of something on everything that you have. And so that's what I do. I haven't stopped doing anything else that I love. So all these other things that we've talked about, I'm still doing them. But I've added this extra spice now to the table.
And do you find, I know with my career coach clients, so much of what you're talking about is reprioritizing things and time management.
Absolutely, because as you get older, you know, different things require your attention, and you want them to have your focus.
Yeah.
And for
You
me,
can only do so much.
You can only do so much, and for me, it was perfect because I really love my animals, and it was a way to share and relate to people on a whole different level. And I've met so many wonderful people, such as yourself, you know, with the magazine, and able to speak with them about different, you know, subjects.
So thank you, Lisa, for being
You're welcome.
sharing this and being such a wonderful voice and advocate for animals.
Well, thank you.
That's really important.
I appreciate
work.
that, Pat.
So you can learn more about Lisa at www.simplypetslifestyle.com or order this great magazine at www.simplypetsmagazine.com. And for more information on our favorite institution, California's community colleges, that can help you be remade in California, go to doingwhatmatters.cccco.edu. Thanks for joining us.